Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, November the 4th, and we are one day away from the U.S. election. That is heating up in multiple battleground states as the two candidates are trying to compete for votes and convince the population to vote on their side and swing the vote to a win, because it is very, very close based on all of the polls. Now, that said, if we take a look at what the markets are doing, and specifically the futures, what we're going to see is that all three indices are in the red this morning, not significantly, but in the red to start the morning off. I think it's going to be a pretty turbulent couple of days here until we figure out who potentially will be the new president of the United States. And when I say potentially, it's very likely that the results are going to be questioned, and for how long it will take to clear up those questions remains to be seen. It really depends on how big the spread is between the winner and the loser. So if we move over to the Yahoo Finance app, we only have one company we follow that's reporting today, and that's Palantir. They report after market close at 4 p.m. But as we go into the week, we've got Costco announcing earnings later this week, and I think they're at a great buy position right now at $8.77. If we take I'm wrong. Costco does not report this week, but it does say that down below, and it did lead me to some confusion. So if we take a look, first of all, at the events calendar and the earnings, it does have Costco up there on Wednesday, but I don't believe they report on Wednesday at all. I think they report later in the year. So going back to where we are, and let's start at the bottom. So if we look at financials, I think financials are just going to kind of hang tight right now. Obviously, they're likely going to get looser regulations with a Trump win than they are with a Harris win. But that said, the financials are doing really well under Harris-Biden. So I don't expect a ton of ongoing volatility in financials. Either way, depending on the result, we may see the market dip, but then I expect it's going to recover into the remainder of the year. And we may not see it dip. We may see it rocket forward if the result is viewed as extremely positive. So I'm just kind of skeptical right now. I really don't know how to play this trade of the election trade. So I'm trying to stay in cash as much as possible and take my profits off the table. I'm holding some of my losses, but I am taking my profits off the table. If we scroll up to tech, TSM looks like it's going to recover nicely today. It had a good day on Friday as well. Adobe is going to report soon, but it's not soon this week soon. It's coming up in December on the 11th. So they're a late reporter in the reporting cycle. We've got Google here. I think Google is a steal at 172.65. I've been buying back into Google after selling it at 183 after earnings. So I'm loving that I took my profits and then I'm able to buy again at a lower price and on the dip. And then we've got NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is likely this week, again, depending on what happens with the election turbulence, to pop up above the 140 range. I think it's ready to move up to the next rung. It already broke through its all-time high and then it's come back a little bit. So I think it's positioned to make a move back upwards. We have BABA. Now, BABA reports in a couple of weeks, and I think that the results here are going to finally start to be turning in their favor, but we'll have to wait and see. They've had some major buybacks going on, so it's got to help with earnings per share, and the stock price for buybacks has been very, very attractive over the last year or two, so I have to imagine that they're well positioned from an EPS perspective. Whether they hit on revenue and revenue growth are two totally different stories, and we need to make sure that management is really doing the best job they can at steering this ship and navigating it through some turbulent waters, and ensuring that all of the units are aligned and taking advantage of all of the operating efficiencies that are available to them. Meta took a dive after earnings, but I do expect it'll come back. It was down 3, now it's down $1.50, now it's down 4, so it's all over the map. But I think Meta's going to have a positive week. I don't know about a positive day, but I'd expect Meta will get back up into the 585, 590 range. at maybe 600 by the end of this calendar year. So just kind of holding that because I did buy it by pre-earnings, and I am in a loss on Meta having bought it pre-earnings, but I'm confident that it's going to come back by the end of this year. And then we've got Lam Research, one of the semis. So like NVIDIA, it's positive on the day in the pre-market, not a ton. AMD is positive, ON is positive. ARM announces results tomorrow, or 2 days, sorry, Wednesday. So we've got ARM down in the 141 range. It is super pricey in this range. If you look at the price to earnings ratio here, 345 times. The market is just waiting for some bad news on ARM for that stock to collapse down to $35 to $40. Now it probably won't get down that much, but I bet it would get down to 70. It would probably drop 50% on some bad news and unexpected turbulence in their growth trajectory. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's just way too risky for me to get into that. I do like Microsoft at 410. I think it'll get back up above 430. So I think that's an interesting buy there, but it also could drop down into the 390s with the election turbulence. So again, I'm just holding off, but I'm looking at opportunities and where I might buy into those companies should those opportunities arise. And I'm still feeling positive because overall, the economy is doing really well in the US. And as the new president isn't going to take office until the end of January, they're really not going to be able to enact any change until midway, if not end of next year. So the actual impact is way, way down the road for what can happen. Palantir, I think, is an interesting one here on a pullback today. It has just been a rocket ship. So, I mean, this was down at $28 a few months ago. Then it got included in the S&P 500, shot up to 33, 36. Now it's at 42. It's a pretty steep multiple here as well. They do have earnings coming out today, but 246 times. So are they really able to keep up with that is the question. And I, again, am staying on the sidelines for that one because I think there's a lot more risk in that trade than there is benefit. And then CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike's going to announce shortly as well. We're getting into that cybersecurity announcement cycle towards the end of the month. And it'll be interesting to hear whether they've started to ramp revenue or continue to ramp revenue up even with that major outage, because that likely had a big impact on future sales. And we'll have to see whether that ultimately is the case. Micron, which reports late in the quarter, so it really just reported for Q2, won't report for Q3 for some time, down in the under $100 range, in my opinion, is a bit of a steal. This was $110, $115 stock after earnings, and it has now fallen back down to the 100 range. And then NVDL. Obviously, if NVIDIA does well, NVDL does very well. Then we get up into crude. Crude is up $1.94. It was up $2 and change earlier. It's up almost $2 right now. So that means we should see a very positive day for the oil refinery stocks. And a lot of the movement in crude today is based on the talk of retaliations from Iran against Israel and OPEC not increasing volume, holding off on increasing oil production volumes in their OPEC member countries. So we'll have to see what unfolds there. But a lot of volatility with the oil sector as well right now. And then we get into our retail and health sector. And the one big mover on Friday was Lululemon. So not sure what caused this huge spike, but up $23 on a $300 stock. That's a big percentage move in a single day. So I would expect that to pull back down into probably the low 300s before the end of this week after that big move. Walmart being up at 82, so it's continuing to move in that 81 to 83 range, but not. It's kind of range bound there until earnings. They do have earnings coming up, obviously, on the 19th of November, so they're coming up fairly quickly, a couple of weeks out there. And then Costco. So Costco in the 877s is very attractive, up $4 Friday. I think it'll be up again today. So let's keep an eye out on that one. And that's where we are going into election day tomorrow as of November 4th. So good luck with your trades, mitigate your risk, take your profits. And at this point in time, I would encourage you to stay as much in cash as possible.